In the last episode, humanity had finally emerged victorious after a long and arduous journey, rising from the ashes of exile to forge a powerful empire that spanned the galaxy. As I stood on the observation deck of my flagship, gazing out at the star-studded expanse, the weight of my memories bore down upon me like a crushing gravity. I remembered the day it all began, when humanity was deemed too unpredictable, too emotional, and cast out of the Galactic Council. I remembered the desperation, the fear, and the uncertainty that gripped us as we struggled to survive on the fringes of the galaxy. But most of all, I remembered the moment when everything changed, when we discovered that our greatest weakness was, in fact, our greatest strength. A shiver ran down my spine as I recalled the first time I laid eyes on the Voltorian ambassador, its slender, elongated body swaying gently as it spoke in a voice like music. "It is a pleasure to meet you, human," it had said, its eyes glinting with curiosity. "We have been watching you for some time now. You are fascinating." I had smiled, taken aback by the sudden interest from a species that had previously shunned us. "Thank you," I replied, trying to hide my nervousness. "We're not used to such diplomacy." The Voltorian ambassador chuckled, a soft, melodic sound. "Diplomacy is overrated. We prefer to forge bonds based on mutual benefit. And we believe you humans have much to offer." Little did I know, those words would change the course of history. As I gazed out at the stars, I felt a sense of pride and accomplishment wash over me. From humble beginnings, humanity had risen to become the dominant force in the galaxy, forging powerful alliances and securing key resources that had propelled us forward. But with great power comes great responsibility, and I knew that the next challenge was just around the corner. My comms officer, a brilliant young woman named Maya, interrupted my reverie, her voice tinged with urgency. "Sir, we've received a transmission from the Outer Rim. Reports of an unknown entity attacking a cluster of neutral planets." I turned to face her, my heart racing with anticipation. "Alert the fleet. We move out in an hour." Maya nodded, her eyes flashing with excitement. "Aye, sir. Let's go kick some alien butt." I smiled, a cold, calculated smile. It was time to show the galaxy what humanity was truly capable of. As I descended into the depths of my flagship, the hum of engines and the chatter of my crew filled the air, a symphony of sound that energized and focused me. This was what I was born for. This was what humanity was destined for. The stars awaited, and I was ready to take on whatever the universe had in store for us. Next stop, the unknown. The corridors of my flagship blurred into a familiar rhythm as I made my way to the bridge, the soft hum of engines and chatter of my crew a constant accompaniment. Maya was already waiting for me, her eyes fixed intently on the holographic display projected before us. "Situation report, Maya," I demanded, dropping into the command chair. "Sir, the entity is unlike anything we've seen before," she replied, her voice laced with a hint of trepidation. "It's massive, easily the size of a small moon. Energy signatures are off the charts, and it's leaving a trail of destruction in its wake." I frowned, my mind racing with possibilities. "Any signs of technology, communications?" Maya shook her head. "Nothing, sir. It's as if this entity is a force of nature, but there's something strange. It seems to be moving with a purpose, targeting specific systems and planets." I leaned forward, my instincts screaming at me to act. "Plot a course, Maya. We need to get there before it's too late." The stars blurred around us as we hurtled through space, my crew working with precision to prepare for battle. As we emerged from the edge of the galaxy, the unknown entity came into view, its sheer scale taking my breath away. It was a behemoth, a twisted mass of energy and matter that seemed to shift and writhe like a living thing. My heart raced with excitement and fear as I assessed the situation, my mind racing with strategies and possibilities. This was the ultimate test of humanity's mettle. "All right, crew," I announced, my voice carrying across the comms system. "Let's show this entity what we're made of. Prepare for battle." The silence that followed was palpable, a collective holding of breath as we steeled ourselves for the unknown. Then, in a flash of light, the battle began. Laser fire crackled through the void, our ships darting and weaving around the entity's unpredictable attacks. I gripped the armrests of my chair, my knuckles white with tension as Maya called out coordinates and firing solutions. "Incoming!" she yelled as a blast of energy streaked toward us. I felt the ship shudder beneath me, the inertia dampeners struggling to compensate for the force of the blow. Alarms blared and sparks erupted from a nearby console. "Hull breach, Deck 3, someone shouted. "Contain it now," I ordered, my voice firm and even. The entity's attacks were unlike anything we'd faced before, wild, unpredictable, and seemingly driven by a primal fury. Our ships danced around it, trying to find an opening, a weakness to exploit. But the entity had none. It was a force of nature, unyielding and merciless. "Suggestions, people," I demanded, my mind racing with possibilities. "We could try targeting its energy core," Maya proposed, her eyes flashing with intensity. "It's too well protected," our chief tactician, Aaron, countered. "We'd need to get past those." A blinding flash of light interrupted him, and the ship lurched again. "What was that?" I asked, my heart still racing. "Unknown, sir," Maya replied, her eyes flicking between displays. "The entity's energy signature just spiked." "Wait, what's this?" She paused, her brow furrowed in concentration. "It's communicating with us, sir, I think." I felt a shiver run down my spine. "Put it through." The entity's voice was like thunder, shaking the very foundations of my ship. "You are intruders," it boomed. "You will be destroyed." I stood, my eyes locked on the main display. "I am the leader of the human empire," I declared, my voice firm and proud. "We mean you no harm. We come in peace." The entity's response was laughter, a deafening roar that sent shivers through my entire crew. "You amuse me," it said, the words dripping with condescension. "But you will still be destroyed." The battle raged on, our ships taking a pounding as the entity unleashed its full fury upon us. I knew we couldn't keep this up for much longer. We needed a new plan, and fast. That's when I saw it, a faint energy signature, buried deep within the entity's core. It was a weakness, a vulnerability that we could exploit. "Maya, can you target that energy signature?" I asked, my heart racing with excitement. She nodded, her eyes flashing with determination. "I think so, sir." "Do it," I ordered, my voice firm and decisive. The fate of humanity hung in the balance as we prepared to make our final, desperate bid for survival. Maya's fingers flew across the console, inputs rapid and precise as she locked onto the energy signature. The entity's defenses were formidable, but I knew we had to try. "Incoming, sir," Maya warned as the entity unleashed a barrage of energy bolts. Our ship shuddered, absorbing the impact, but Maya's aim remained true. A pinpoint beam of energy lanced out, striking the entity's core with precision. The entity's response was immediate, a blast of fury that sent our ship careening off course. Alarms blared, and the bridge crew struggled to compensate for the loss of momentum. "Hold on, people," I shouted, gripping the armrests of my chair as the ship bucked and lurched. We were running out of time. The entity's attacks were growing more intense, its fury building with each passing moment. I knew we had to end this, and fast. "Maya, report," I demanded, my eyes locked on the main display. "I've got a lock on the energy signature, sir," she replied, her voice steady despite the chaos around us. "But it's going to take another few seconds." To the entity's voice boomed through the bridge once more. "You will not win." I felt a surge of determination, my heart pounding with excitement. This was our last chance to turn the tide of battle. "Now, Maya," I shouted, my voice echoing off the walls of the bridge. A brilliant flash of light illuminated the darkness as Maya unleashed the full fury of our ship's energy reserves. The entity's core glowed with an intense, pulsating light, and for a moment I thought we'd done it. But the entity was far from defeated. With a deafening roar, it unleashed a blast of energy that sent our ship tumbling through space. The bridge crew clung to their stations, white-knuckled and terrified as the ship careened out of control. I felt a sense of despair creeping in, my heart heavy with the weight of defeat. We'd come so close only to fall short. But then something changed. The entity's attacks began to falter, its energy signature wavering as it struggled to maintain its assault. Maya's eyes locked onto mine, a spark of hope flickering in their depths. "Sir, I think we did it," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the chaos around us. I felt a surge of elation, my heart racing with excitement. We'd done the impossible. We'd weakened the entity and opened a window of opportunity. "Get me a status report now," I ordered, my voice firm and decisive. The bridge crew scrambled to comply, their faces etched with exhaustion and relief. As the reports began to trickle in, a slow grin spread across my face. We'd won. We'd actually done it. The entity's attacks were slowing, its energy signature dwindling as it struggled to maintain its form. Our ships were battered, but we'd emerged victorious, our spirits high and our hopes renewed. I stood, my eyes locked on the main display as the entity's form began to dissipate. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. As the entity's energy signature faded into nothingness, I knew that a new challenge awaited us, one that would test the mettle of humanity and push us to the very limits of our strength and determination. But I was ready. I was the leader of the human empire, and I would not falter. "Helm, set a course for Earth," I ordered, my voice firm and confident. "It's time to take our place among the stars." The bridge crew cheered, their voices echoing off the walls of the bridge as we set a new course, one that would take us to the very heart of the galaxy. And beyond, as we sailed through the void, our ships a testament to humanity's ingenuity and resilience, I couldn't help but feel a sense of pride and accomplishment. The entity's defeat was a turning point, a beacon of hope that would guide us through the treacherous waters of the galaxy. But I knew that our journey was far from over. The entity's legacy would live on, its remnants a ticking time bomb waiting to unleash chaos and destruction. I had to ensure that humanity was prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council," Maya said, her eyes fixed on the console. I nodded, my heart sinking. The Council had been eerily silent throughout our battle with the entity. Their sudden interest in our affairs was more than a little suspicious. "Put it through," I said, my voice firm. The Council's ambassador, a tall, slender being with skin like polished marble, appeared on the main display. His eyes narrowed, his gaze piercing as he regarded me. "Greetings, human leader," he said, his voice dripping with condescension. "I am Ambassador Zorvath of the Galactic Council. We have been monitoring your exploits with great interest." I smiled, my expression cold and calculating. "And what, might I ask, is the Council's interest in our affairs?" Zorvath's gaze didn't falter. "We are concerned about the entity's defeat. Its destruction has created a power vacuum, one that we fear humanity is ill-equipped to fill." I laughed, the sound low and menacing. "You fear humanity's power, Ambassador. You fear our unpredictability, our emotions. But let me tell you, those are the very qualities that have brought us to where we are today." Zorvath's expression remained impassive, but I sensed a flicker of anger beneath the surface. "Be that as it may, human leader, the Council is willing to offer its assistance in stabilizing the galaxy. We can provide guidance, resources." I cut him off, my tone firm. "We don't need the Council's guidance, Ambassador. We don't need your resources. What we need is for the Council to recognize humanity's sovereignty, our right to forge our own destiny in the galaxy." Zorvath's eyes narrowed, his gaze like ice. "I'm afraid that is not possible, human leader. The Council will not recognize humanity's claims to dominance, and if you continue to pursue this path, there will be consequences." I smiled again, my heart pounding with anticipation. "Consequences, Ambassador, bring them on. We're ready for whatever the Council throws our way." The transmission ended and I turned to Maya. "Get me a meeting with the other faction leaders. It's time we formed our own alliance, one that will counter the Council's influence and secure humanity's place in the galaxy." Maya nodded, her eyes sparkling with determination. "Aye, sir. I'll make the arrangements." As the bridge crew dispersed, I felt a sense of purpose, of direction. The battle ahead would be long and arduous, but I was ready. I was the leader of the human empire, and I would stop at nothing to ensure our survival and dominance. I gazed out at the stars, my heart pounding with excitement. The galaxy was full of unknowns, but one thing was certain: humanity would emerge victorious. Our name etched in the annals of history as the greatest civilization the galaxy had ever known. The stars twinkled like diamonds against the inky blackness of space, a reminder of the infinite possibilities that lay before us. I felt a surge of energy, my mind racing with the implications of our newfound status. The human empire was no longer just a fledgling nation. We were a force to be reckoned with, a power that would shape the galaxy's future. "Captain, we've received responses from the faction leaders," Maya said, her voice interrupting my reverie. "They're willing to meet with you to discuss the alliance." I nodded, a sense of anticipation building in my chest. This was it, the moment we'd been working towards. The moment we'd proved to the galaxy that humanity was a force to be reckoned with. "Set a course for the neutral zone," I said, my voice firm. "We'll meet with the faction leaders and forge our own destiny." The bridge crew sprang into action, their movements swift and efficient. I watched them, my heart swelling with pride. This was my crew, my family. Together, we'd overcome the impossible, and we'd do it again. As we sailed towards the neutral zone, I felt a sense of trepidation. The faction leaders were a diverse bunch, each with their own agendas and motivations. But I was determined to bring them together, to forge an alliance that would counter the Council's influence and secure humanity's place in the galaxy. The meeting took place on a neutral planet, a desolate rock on the edge of the galaxy. The faction leaders gathered around a large, circular table, their faces a testament to the diversity of the galaxy. I took my place at the head of the table, my eyes scanning the room. There was Archaea, the enigmatic leader of the Shadowborn; Zarath, the cunning strategist of the Kralian Empire; and Lyrian, the gentle, ethereal queen of the Ethos. "Gentlemen, ladies," I said, my voice firm, "we gather here today to forge a new path. A path that will lead humanity to greatness and secure our place in the galaxy." Archaea's eyes narrowed, her gaze piercing. "What do you propose, human leader?" I smiled, my confidence growing. "I propose that we form an alliance, one that will counter the Council's influence and secure our collective futures. Together, we can achieve greatness. Alone, we'll be crushed beneath the Council's heel." Zarath leaned forward, his eyes glinting with cunning. "And what do you offer us, human leader? What's in it for us?" I smiled again, my heart pounding with excitement. "I offer you access to humanity's cutting-edge technology. I offer you our military might, our strategic expertise. And I offer you a place at the table, a voice in the galaxy that will be heard." Lyrian's eyes sparkled, her gaze soft. "I am willing to listen, human leader. But I must warn you, the Council will not take this lying down. They will fight to maintain their power, their dominance." I nodded, my jaw set. "I know, Lyrian. But we're ready for them. We're ready to take on the Council and emerge victorious." The room fell silent, the faction leaders regarding me with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. But I knew that I had them. I knew that I had the upper hand. And with that knowledge, I sealed our fate. I sealed the fate of the galaxy. The silence stretched out, like a fragile thread waiting to be snapped. I could feel the weight of their gazes, the collective consideration of my proposal. Archaea's eyes seemed to bore into my soul, Zarath's gaze pierced with calculation, and Lyrian's gentle eyes searched for the truth. It was Zarath who broke the silence, his voice like a rusty gate. "I will need time to consider this, human leader. The Kralian Empire does not enter into alliances lightly." I nodded, anticipating this response. "I understand, Zarath. Take all the time you need. But know that the clock is ticking. The Council will not wait for us to make up our minds." Archaea's gaze never wavered, her voice like a winter breeze. "I will speak with my people, human leader. But I warn you, we do not take kindly to being trifled with. If you are playing games, you will regret it." I held her gaze, my own eyes unwavering. "I'm not playing games, Archaea. I am forging an alliance that will change the course of history, and I am willing to do whatever it takes to make it happen." Lyrian's gentle voice soothed the tension like a balm to the soul. "I will speak with my council, human leader, but I sense that you are sincere. I sense that you truly believe in this alliance." I smiled, feeling a glimmer of hope. "I do, Lyrian. I believe that together we can achieve greatness, and I am willing to do whatever it takes to make it happen." The meeting drew to a close, the faction leaders departing to consider my proposal. I watched them go, my mind racing with the implications. This was it, the moment of truth. Would they join me, or would they reject my offer? As I stood alone in the empty room, I felt a sense of trepidation. The fate of humanity hung in the balance, and I was the one holding the scales. But I was not alone. Maya stood by my side, her eyes shining with determination. "Well, get them, sir," she said, her voice firm. "Well, get them to join us." I smiled, feeling a sense of pride. Maya was right. We would get them to join us. We would forge an alliance that would change the course of history. And as I walked out of the room, I knew that nothing would ever be the same again. The die was cast, the fate of humanity sealed. But as I looked up at the stars, I felt a sense of unease. There was something out there, something lurking in the shadows, something that threatened to destroy everything we had worked for. I pushed the feeling aside, focusing on the task at hand. But the seed of doubt had been planted, and it would take root. For now, I had a galaxy to conquer. But later, I would have to face the darkness that lurked within. I took a deep breath, letting the weight of the meeting settle upon me. Maya's words echoed in my mind, a beacon of determination in the face of uncertainty. We would get them to join us, no matter what it took. As I walked back to my quarters, my mind raced with strategies and contingency plans. I couldn't afford to let doubt creep in, not now. The fate of humanity hung in the balance, and I was the one holding the reins. I pushed open the door to my quarters and was greeted by the soft hum of the console. Maya was already there, her fingers flying across the keyboard as she accessed the encrypted files. "Sir, I've been going over the data," she said, her eyes locked on the screen. "It looks like Archaea's people are going to be the toughest nut to crack. They are not impressed by our tech, and they are not afraid of the Council." I nodded, my mind working overtime. "That's okay, I expected as much. What's the situation with Zerath's people?" Maya's eyes flickered to the side, her brow furrowing in concentration. "The Kralian Empire is complicated. They are divided, sir. Some of them want to join us, but others are afraid of our unpredictability." I smiled, a plan forming in my mind. "That's perfect. We can work with that. Get me a meeting with Zerath, Maya. I need to speak with him alone." Maya's eyes snapped to mine, her expression questioning. "Sir, are you sure that's a good idea? We don't know what kind of tricks Zerath has up his sleeve." I leaned forward, my voice low and urgent. "That's exactly why I need to speak with him, Maya. I need to know what he's thinking, what he wants, and I need to make him an offer he can't refuse." Maya's eyes locked onto mine, her expression unyielding. "I'll set it up, sir. But be careful. You're playing with fire." I nodded, a cold smile spreading across my face. "That's what it takes to win, Maya. That's what it takes to change the course of history." The meeting with Zerath was set for the next day in a secured location on the edge of the galaxy. I spent the rest of the night going over the files, studying Zerath's people and their motivations. As I lay in bed, my mind racing with possibilities, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was missing something, that there was something out there lurking in the shadows, waiting to strike. I pushed the thought aside, focusing on the task at hand. But the seed of doubt had been planted, and it would take root. The next day, I stood outside the secured location, my heart pounding in my chest. This was it, the moment of truth. Would Zerath join me, or would he reject my offer? I took a deep breath and stepped inside. The air was thick with tension as I entered the room. Zerath sat across from me, his piercing blue eyes fixed on mine. The Kralian Empire's leader was a master of manipulation, and I knew I had to be at the top of my game to outmaneuver him. "Greetings, human," Zerath said, his voice like silk. "I must admit, I'm intrigued by your audacity. You think you can convince me to join your little rebellion?" I smiled, leaning forward in my chair. "It's not a rebellion, Zerath. It's an evolution. Humanity is no longer bound by the Council's chains. We're forging our own path and we invite you to join us." Zareth's expression remained neutral, but I sensed a flicker of interest behind his eyes. "Go on," he said. I launched into my pitch, highlighting the benefits of an alliance with humanity. I emphasized the cutting-edge technology we had to offer, the resources we could provide, and the mutual benefits of cooperation. Zareth listened intently, his fingers steepled together in contemplation. As I spoke, I watched for any signs of weakness or hesitation. But Zareth's mask remained impenetrable. I knew I had to take a risk, to push the boundaries and make him an offer he couldn't refuse. "I'll give you something more, Zareth," I said, my voice low and persuasive. "I'll give you a guarantee. If you join us, I'll ensure that your people have a place at the table. You'll have a say in the future of the galaxy, and your empire will thrive like never before." Zareth's eyes narrowed, his gaze piercing. "And what do you want in return, human?" I leaned back in my chair, a confident smile spreading across my face. "I want you to bring your people to the table, Zareth. I want you to stand with us against the Council, and to help us forge a new path for the galaxy." Zareth's silence was oppressive, weighing heavy on the air. I knew I had to wait to let him deliberate and consider his options. Finally, he spoke, his voice like ice. "I'll need time to think, human, but I'll give you this. I'm intrigued, and I'll make you a counteroffer. Meet me on the planet of Zorvath in 1 week's time. Come alone and we'll discuss the terms of our alliance." I nodded, my heart racing with excitement. I had taken a risk and it had paid off. Zareth was interested and I knew I could close the deal. As I left the secured location, I felt a sense of pride and accomplishment. I had taken another step towards securing humanity's future, and I knew I would stop at nothing to achieve my goal. But as I walked back to my quarters, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that there were eyes upon me, hidden in the shadows, waiting for their moment to strike. I pushed the thought aside, focusing on the task at hand. But the seed of doubt had taken root, and I knew it would grow. I had 1 week to prepare for the meeting on Zorvath. 1 week to plan and strategize, to anticipate every possible outcome. And I would need every ounce of my cunning and charisma to come out on top. For humanity's sake, I had to succeed. As I stepped out of the secured location, I was greeted by the familiar hum of the Empire's activity. People bustled about, going about their daily business, unaware of the monumental conversation that had just taken place. I made my way back to my quarters, lost in thought, processing the intricacies of my meeting with Zareth. The Kralian Empire's leader was a master of manipulation, and I knew I had to be on my guard. His counteroffer was a bold move, and I couldn't help but wonder what hidden agendas lay beneath the surface. I made a mental note to dig deeper, to uncover any potential secrets or weaknesses that could be leveraged in our favor. As I entered my quarters, I was greeted by the warm smile of my loyal assistant, Ava. Her piercing green eyes sparkled with curiosity, and I knew she was eager to hear about my meeting with Zareth. "Sir," she asked, her voice soft and deferential. I smiled, taking a deep breath. "It went well, Ava. Zareth is intrigued and he's willing to listen to our proposal." Ava's eyes widened, and she nodded enthusiastically. "That's fantastic, sir. What's the next step?" I leaned back in my chair, steepling my fingers together in contemplation. "We need to prepare for the meeting on Zorvath. I want you to gather a team of our top analysts and strategists. We need to anticipate every possible outcome, every potential pitfall, and every opportunity to gain the upper hand." Ava nodded, her fingers flying across the holographic console as she assembled the team. I watched her, my mind racing with the countless variables and unknowns that lay ahead. As the team assembled, I briefed them on the meeting with Zareth, leaving out no details. We discussed every aspect of the proposed alliance, from the benefits of cooperation to the potential risks and drawbacks. The room buzzed with activity, minds working in tandem as we pored over the data, searching for any weak points or hidden dangers. Hours blurred together as we worked, the tension building with each passing minute. I knew that Zarath would stop at nothing to achieve his goals, and I had to be prepared to counter every move he made. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the room in a warm, golden light, I stood up, my eyes scanning the faces of my team. "We have 1 week," I said, my voice firm and resolute. "Let's make it count. We'll work around the clock, anticipating every possibility and preparing for every eventuality. This is our chance to forge a new path for humanity, and I won't let it slip through our fingers." The team nodded, their faces set with determination, and I knew that together we would stop at nothing to secure humanity's future. But as I looked around the room, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something more, something lurking just beneath the surface, waiting to strike. I pushed the thought aside, focusing on the task at hand. But the seed of doubt had taken root, and I knew it would continue to grow, whispering warnings in the shadows of my mind. The clock was ticking, and I had 1 week to prepare for the meeting of a lifetime. As I delved deeper into the preparations, my mind racing with strategies and countermeasures, a sudden commotion erupted outside my quarters. The hum of the Empire's activity faltered, replaced by the sound of raised voices and footsteps echoing through the corridors. I exchanged a concerned glance with Ava, who swiftly accessed the security feeds on her console. Her eyes narrowed, her brow furrowed in concentration. "What is it, Ava?" I asked, my tone firm but controlled. "There's an unknown entity attempting to breach our security system, sir," she replied, her hands dancing across the console. "It's unusual. I've never seen a signature like this before." I rose from my chair, my instincts on high alert. "Alert the security teams. I want a full sweep of the area now." Ava nodded, her fingers flying across the console as she relayed the order. I took a deep breath, my mind racing with possibilities. This could be Zarath's doing, a test of our defenses or a diversionary tactic. Or it could be something entirely new, a hidden player in the game. I stepped out of my quarters, Ava by my side, and made my way to the security command center. The air was thick with tension as the team scrambled to contain the breach. As we arrived, the security chief, Admiral Lewis, turned to me, his face grim. "Sir, we're experiencing an unprecedented level of sophistication in this attack. It's like nothing we've seen before." I nodded, my eyes scanning the data streaming across the screens. "I want a full analysis of the entity's signature. Find out what we're dealing with." Admiral Lewis nodded, his team springing into action. I knew that every second counted. If this entity was able to breach our security, it could be a harbinger of something far more sinister. As I watched the screens, a sudden chill ran down my spine. The entity's signature was unlike anything I'd seen before. It was as if— "Ava, I need access to the ancient databases," I said, my voice low and urgent. Ava's eyes widened, but she nodded, swiftly accessing the ancient records. The screens flickered to life, revealing the secrets of the long-lost civilizations that had shaped the galaxy. I knew I was onto something. The entity's signature, the strange energy patterns, the whispers of an ancient technology, it was all connected. And I had a feeling that Zarath knew more than he was letting on. "Sir, I've found something," Ava whispered, her eyes locked on the screens. I leaned in, my heart pounding with anticipation. "What is it, Ava?" "The entity's signature. It matches the energy patterns of the ancient Zorvathians," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. My eyes locked onto Ava's, my mind reeling with the implications. The Zorvathians, a long-lost civilization rumored to have possessed powers beyond the understanding of modern science. I knew I had to confront Zarath, to uncover the truth behind this sudden development. The game had just changed, and I was ready to play. "Ava, prepare a secure channel to Zarath. I need to speak with him now." The stakes had never been higher. Humanity's future hung in the balance, and I was about to take a step into the unknown. "Ava, can you establish a secure connection with Zarath's ship?" I asked, my eyes locked on the screens as the security teams continued to battle the unknown entity. Ava nodded, her fingers flying across the console. "Yes, sir. Establishing a secure channel now." I took a deep breath, mentally preparing myself for the conversation ahead. The air was thick with tension as the seconds ticked by. "Ava, how long?" I asked, my patience wearing thin. "Almost there, sir," she replied, her eyes fixed on the screens. Suddenly, Zareth's face appeared on the view screen, his expression unreadable. "Ah, human," he said, his voice dripping with an air of superiority. "I see you're experiencing some technical difficulties." I narrowed my eyes, my instincts screaming that Zarath was hiding something. "What do you know about the entity, Zarath?" I asked, my tone firm but controlled. Zarath's smile was almost imperceptible. "Oh, I know nothing about any entity, human. I'm merely a concerned ally, watching as you struggle to contain this unusual situation." I knew Zarath was lying, but I needed to push him further. "The entity's signature matches the energy patterns of the ancient Zorvathians," I said, watching his reaction closely. For a moment, Zarath's expression faltered, a flicker of surprise dancing across his face. "Fascinating," he said, his voice dripping with false curiosity. "I had no idea you humans were so resourceful." I leaned in, my eyes locked on Zarath's. "What do you know about the Zorvathians, Zarath?" I asked, my tone firm and unyielding. Zarath's smile returned, his eyes glinting with amusement. "Oh, human, you really don't know, do you? The Zorvathians were a civilization far beyond your understanding. They possessed powers that would make your human empire seem like a mere fledgling." I knew I was getting close to the truth, but Zarath was still hiding something. "What do you want, Zarath?" I asked, my patience wearing thin. Zarath's eyes seemed to bore into mine as if daring me to take a step further. "I want to offer you a deal, human," he said, his voice dripping with an air of superiority. "Join me and together we can unlock the secrets of the Zorvathians. Refuse and, well, let's just say humanity's future may be shorter than you think." I felt a cold chill run down my spine as Zarath's words hung in the air. The stakes had just been raised, and I knew I had to make a choice that would determine the course of humanity's future. "Ava, disconnect the channel," I said, my voice firm and resolute. As the view screen flickered back to life, I turned to Ava, my eyes locked on hers. "We need to find a way to stop this entity and uncover the secrets of the Zorvathians before Zarath can use them against us." Ava nodded, her eyes flashing with determination. "I'll get to work on the entity's signature, sir. See if we can find a weakness." I nodded, my mind racing with possibilities. The game had just changed and I was ready to play. But I knew that one misstep could spell disaster for humanity. As I turned to leave, I felt a strange sensation as if the universe itself was watching me, waiting to see what I would do next.